He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the wall. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. Here you go.
Welcome in, everybody. Week 5 rankings coming right around the corner. And my goodness, Andrew, I gotta say, I opened up these Class 1A rankings and my jaw dropped. We've got a lot to talk about. So strap in, buckle up. We've got 15 to 20 minutes of just chaos coming your way. Week 5, and I gotta say, Andrew, massive week here for 1A and 2A. We've got pairings coming out this week, the groupings, I should say. For those unfamiliar, at some point this week, I'm not sure what day, we're going to know what teams are going to see which teams to get to Carroll and to get to beautiful and historic Merchants Park. We're not going to know the tournament. We're not going to know the brackets, but we're going to know the teams in each of them, and that's going to tell us a lot. So massive week. We're going to be covering it. Follow us on all our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. Subscribe on YouTube. Click that little post notification, that little bell when you subscribe. It'll send you a notification every time we post, and you won't miss a thing. So let's get right into it. We've got chaos at the top, chaos at the bottom, and that includes 2 new teams, Andrew, in our Week 5 poll for Class 1A. And you've liked what Moravia has brought to the table so far, earning a spot at number 14 here.
Yeah, they've been like slowly working their way up. Right now sitting at a good 14-6 overall. For the most part, they're beating the teams that they need to. 5-3 against teams that are 500 or better. They're scoring at a clip of plus 6.2 on the run differential side of things, and they're rocking what they need to do. And sometimes that's tough. Sometimes you kind of get lost in it, but ultimately, I got to give a shout out to a guy who's leading the team right now, and Wyatt Throckmorton. I love the name, by the way. I will always like that name. But I will say that I love what he's bringing to the table. 26 total bases, leads the team in hits. But then you got some underclassmen that are really making some good charges. Carson Steele, Lincoln Albertson, both sophomores. Blake Ewing, freshman. Both of those have 14 or more total bases on the season. So that trio is doing well. And Grantland McDaniel as well, an eighth grader. You get to see that on a team like Moravia. You're doing some good things right if you have an eighth grader rocking it. So yeah, I like what they're doing. On the mound, they're doing some really good things. They have 3 guys sporting 20 or more strikeouts, Throckmorton being one of those. I already mentioned Steele, Ewing, McDaniel as well. So they're making it happen when they need to, and none of them are allowing over, by my account here, a 119 average against them. So if you can't hit, you can't score, you can't win. This team's doing that. So they're kind of finding that holistic approach, so I like them.
Absolutely. Well, hopping back into the rankings this week, I believe Alta Aurelia was ranked the first 2 weeks. Popped out of the rankings after looks like a 2-3 start. Since then, only 2 losses, one to Akron Westfield and one to Southeast Valley by 1 run. They're on a little 4-game winning streak, and I mean, this is a team we liked in the preseason, and the guy at the front of this is Cale Breckwald. The looks like one of the main senior contributors, and outside of him, a lot of underclassmen. You got to give a shout out to Cale too. Broke the all-time career strikeout record at Alta Aurelia. That's really impressive and a really cool task. I know we got to post out on that. So congrats to Cale if he's watching this. But no, I mean they're hitting 295, and they're always a threat in the postseason because they got guys like Breckwald, and outside of him, it's a lot of sophomores and Center and Marshall and company. So definitely a team to be excited for as they kind of are making a little run here in the middle of the season to put their name onto the map. Well, moving into the top 10 here in Class 1A as I get my sheets ready to go. And as you can see, our ranker punished Linville Solely. This is the one that caught me off guard, and this is what makes it fun, Andrew. We're not the ones that do this. We get sent these, and sometimes some stuff is just it catches you off guard. And Linville Sully, I'll say it, this surprised me. They did have 3 losses this week, a 3-3 week, and in Class 1A, I think this class is has a ton of great teams at the top, and you got to be really good to maintain a top tier status in Class 1A. And it was a tough week for Linville Sully, but all 3 losses were to 2A teams. One to PCM and then a double header loss to West Marshall on a Saturday. And Saturdays in Class 1A can be tough for pitching and whatnot. So this isn't something where I'm personally panicking at all. I still love Linville Sully. I love what they bring to the table. Our ranker this week just push them down at the end of the day. But Andrew, outside of Linville Sully here at number 6, 7 through 10, who's catching your eye?
Well, I do like, I like the combo of Wapsie and Sigourney. Both of those two teams, they had some solid weeks, really solid weeks again. I know I talked about the Savages last week, so, I'll kind of go more on Wapsie. I mean, they went 4-1 this week, and that's always tough to do. It certainly it has to be noted. Right now, Wapsie Valley has the most wins in Class 1A at 19. Right, they're doing what they need to. Over 5 wins against teams above 500. They're making a +3 run differential is always tough. The schedule that they face is one that you get if you earn that mark, you're doing something right, and you're usually getting a lot of wins because of it. And you think about it, 3 of those wins come in conference, which conference play is always going to be tough. But I think Wapsie sits there, and I think they'll make some big moves coming up. I like where they're at. I like where they're headed. I mean, they've really got some good pitching. Ultimately, they're allowing less than 4 runs a game on average, and that's due to the pitching. When teams can't hit, they can't score. I said that once or twice, a few minutes ago, but it's true. You can't hit, you can't score. It's a good pitching team, but yeah, I like where they're headed. 4-1's a good week for them.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Well, we've got a ton of action inside the top 5. The craziness did not start with Linville Sully. It continues through number 4 at Burlington Notre Dame at number 5 this week, Andrew. So we've got number 1 and number 2 from last week now sitting at number 5 and number 6. This is opening up a lot of room ahead of the Nikes and the Hawks. Obviously not panicking on Burlington Notre Dame by any means. Their 2 losses this week were to 3A Assumption and 3A Central DeWitt, and both those teams ranked inside the top 10 in 3A. So I think this is another thing where our rankers just kind of over-examining the losses at this point. I mean, that's kind of how it is in Class 1A with a lot of really good teams ahead of them. But Burlington Notre Dame, them and St. Ansgar are the only 2 teams in Class 1A to be ranked in the top 5 in batting average and team ERA. So absolutely no reason to panic for Burlington Notre Dame. This is just, I'd say this is just a business move. It's nothing personal, wouldn't you say?
No, yeah, I think ultimately, yeah, there is a little bit of head scratcher, but then again, there's a whole lot that goes into play here. From how other teams do to what they're doing, and I think that's where again the explanations come really huge into play here. But yeah, that's why it sets us apart, I'd like to say. But yeah, I think ultimately there's no panic button here. There's none whatsoever, because you put this team in the postseason, no one's going to want to face them. Let's be honest. You just mentioned the metrics that really put them atop of everybody else, and I think we're going to find that again coming up soon. So I'm not panicked. No one should be panicked. There is a drop, but in the end, they could have 1 week, couple games, vault them back up. So yeah, this is nothing to worry about.
No doubt. Well, I said 2 teams, them and St. Ansgar are the 2 teams ranked inside the top 5 in batting average and team ERA. St. Ansgar does find themselves here at number 4. We've talked about this pitching staff. The only team in Class 1A with the qualified innings and the only team ERA below 1. I mean, this pitching staff is allowing less than 1 earned runs per game. St. Ansgar, we talked about it a lot. They got Schweiss out at the front of the hill, but it's not just him. This is a well-oiled machine at this point.
Oh yeah, and what's not to love about this? We talked about this and we mentioned in preseason here. It's routine. This is just starting to be the expectation for St. Ansgar right now, that you go out and it doesn't matter who you have, because somehow, some way, that coaching staff is going to put you in the winning position, right? And they've already had big wins. The win over Osage was pretty big. I think Osage, the Green Devils, are a huge team. That was a big win there. They've had close games overall, and on the schedule, I believe it's two. They've had 2 wins against Osage overall, so it's pretty impressive. The Hampton Dumont Cow win was impressive. Janesville impressive. So yeah, I mean, going down the line this week, all they did was win, and I like it. I like where they're headed here. And again, you mentioned their metrics, man. I mean, they're plus 5.5 in the run differential, so they can also highlight what that pitching staff is doing. And in the end, there's a lot of games on this list, or several, I should say, in which they've had one run. They've won by 1 run or less. No, you can't win by less than 1 run, but by 1 run or more. So they've been able to find a way to win, but they've also found a way to win the big ones, like a 15-9 win for them. So the thing is that they don't let it tail on the wrong side of them. So again, yeah, I like where they're at, and I think this is fitting. I do think they're, in the end, where they're at is, again, very fitting. I think they are a top 5 team for sure.
No doubt about it. Well, it was a perfect 3-0 week for St. Ansgar. It was also a perfect 3-0 week, I should say, for our number 3 team in Newman Catholic. And this is a team that's just on a tear right now. The loss to Assumption at the Catholic Classic. But besides that, this team hasn't lost since May 23rd. And last week, a win over a good Osage team, like you just said. That's no slouch of a team. A good win over Nashville Plainfield. That's no slouch of a team, and a dominant win over North Butler. You look at Newman Catholic in those metrics, they're second in runs scored in Class 1A. They've got the greatest run difference in 1A, and they're second in runs like overall. So this team, I mean, they're fourth in hits too. I mean, this team is putting up stats at a crazy pace, and you kind of feel for whoever draws Newman Catholic this week in their little pairings, because it's going to be a tough out, and they got upended last year, and it's just a team on a mission this year. We've said that week in and week out. This team is tunnel visioned right now, and you can tell.
Oh yeah, and the way that they faced. By the way, they've beaten a 3A team, and they've really went toe to toe on the other end of it. They are the 1A team that I feel is most capable of going toe to toe with any team in the state. If you had to put them up against Johnston, I'd say I'm comfortable and not totally be surprised with the win from them in that game. So that's where I sit and feel with them. And we've gone down the line, man. We've mentioned almost everyone on this team twice and then some. But it goes to show this is a strong team that continually packs a big punch. And yeah, I mean, honestly, they're looking on pace to win the conference right now, undefeated there. Yeah, I think they're easily gonna take a lot of wins here coming up.
Well, there's 2 teams left, Andrew. Akron Westfield and Remsen St. Mary's. And I'll tell you what, no matter who we debut here at number 2, it's not going to matter, because these 2 teams square off on the 19th. We've had that one circled. We've talked about going to it, as far as I know. I mean, I'm game if you're game, because that one's going to be a ton of fun. So debuting at number 2 is Akron Westfield. But again, they got the control right in their own hands. They get to go up against Remsen St. Mary's on their home turf. They suffered a loss to Unity Christian on Saturday last week. Besides that, 5 wins alongside. And you want to talk about winning baseball and winning games, it's playing good defense in Akron Westfield. They're number 1 in fielding percentage in Class 1A right now. So I mean, we're on a type of tear right now where it's 2 teams kind of ready to collide this week, Andrew, and Akron Westfield and Remsen St. Mary's. What are you looking forward to in that matchup as they debut or show Remsen St. Mary's here at number 1? What are you looking forward to when these 2 teams clash?
My first thing that I thought about with these 2 teams is who is going to strike first, right? Who's going to end up putting up, and not just striking first, but who can potentially put a crooked number up. Because this is a game where it could be a pitching duel, or it could be a track meet. And in the end, man, it could go either way. But who puts up a crooked number, or who puts up more than 2 or 3 runs in an inning, that's where you get it. Because if you can get that and sustain it for 1 inning, boy, I know 1 inning can make a difference, but the way that these staffs hurl the ball, the way that these two teams can match up so evenly with each other, that's where I think, man, if you get that advantage and you get your pitching rolling, well, then I think it's going to be tough. Again, that both these teams very, very much capable of doing a lot of things. You could see 10,000 different versions of this game played out, and they would be all different. And that's what I love about these two teams. And so, again, for me, it's got to be, AW has to come out. Remsen has to come out. They really have to make sure that early on they attack and they put up some runs, because you get enough of that, and then whoever gets to that bullpen first, I think, might be the one who tails downward.
Conference title on the line, it's seeming this week. And you look back at these matchups, 5 in a row have gone to Remsen St. Mary's, but 3 of those have been by just 1 run. So this has been a pretty historical, a good matchup historically, I should say. And we're super excited to cover that. We've got that one triple circled on our calendar, and we're ready to roll. But that was it for Class 1A. A ton of action. Be sure to drop a comment. I mean, this is one of those weeks where you could have a lot of opinions on how it went. So be sure to drop a comment. Let us know who you're supporting, who we're underrating, who we're overrating. Drop it. We're reading it. We're always checking the comments. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Go check out the other rankings videos. Go check out all our social media. We're loving that you guys are loving our content. So appreciate you for tuning in, Class 1A fans. We'll catch you next week.